Prime Minister, permit me to adopt the protocol that you have established so ably and also done by the Chair. Of course, except my other cabinet colleagues at the head table, Minister Phipps, Minister Byron Nisbet, Minister Vincent Byron. Ladies and gentlemen, all good morning again. You all don't sound like you had no breakfast this morning. But thank you. Let me say a good morning to fellow citizens and residents everywhere, because I believe that many are tuned in by way of radio and social media. I greet you on the morn of the commencement of the 2022 hurricane season. And my first task as Minister of Human Settlement is to invite you to share in the service slated for this afternoon at 4:30. It will be at the Pentecostal Church of God at Boone Avenue. You should join us and assemble to be reverent wherever you are. You can also be reverent wherever you are if you're not able to come to church. Of course, by prayer, precept, and of course fasting, you can seek God's face as we face this hurricane season, where there are 19 named storms, 9 of which are predicted to be very severe storms indeed. My second task, of course, is to share with you some information, some details about 3 to 5 of the significant undertakings since accepting the role of Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Public Infrastructure, Public Utilities and Posts. Time permitting, I will update you on La Clanche, Skelec, Water, Bastia High School, Connery, Playfield, and of course St. Peter's Health Center. And then of course I will take my seat. La Clanche you have heard about. It is an organization with which government and Skelec has been engaged and engaging over the last 2.5 years. The short objective is for La Clanche to produce green energy by way of solar farm energy to our grid. The farm is expected to produce 30% of the energy needs of St. Kitts at a rate of somewhere around about 48 cents EC per unit, thereby creating an opportunity for the reduction in cost of electricity, perhaps in the next 20 or 25 years. The project has been tied up for the past 2.5 years. And I am pleased to inform you that all of the hurdles have now been removed since I have become the minister. And Skelec signed off on the agreement last week. I'm advised and verily believe that work is expected to commence in a few days' time. I am told by the middle of June. I also have invited the Attorney General to add a few words to the issue about La Clanche, because he was very instrumental. His office has been very instrumental in making sure that we have reached to where we are today. Briefly about Skelec. In the last 8 to 12 months, the price of fuel has been rising. Of course, that has been exacerbated by the war in Ukraine. We in St. Kitts and Nevis, we really do not have any control, direct or otherwise, on the escalating cost of fuel and the cost of goods and services impacted by the rising cost of fuel. If no one else in St. Kitts has realized this, Those of us who drive, when you pull up at the pump, you realize that the cost is escalating. So within the last 8 to 12 months, the cost of fuel, which is a major input that drives the generation of electricity, that ensures that your children can study at night, that you can watch the news on television or listen to the talk shows and keep the baby formula cool, preserved, and of course keep all of our vaccines and other necessary drugs safe to avoid mortality or morbidity issues. That cost, the price, has doubled and would have cost you more in your pockets if the government had not intervened. Your government has intervened in the last few days, and if I add, since I'm minister, and since the government continues to function properly rather than in chaos, we have intervened by bailing out Skellig. By that I mean, government is paying for the fuel. And by government paying for the fuel within the last few days, weeks, government is saving you in your pocket, at least for the month of May, it is estimated, something like $5 million. Had it not been for the intervention of government, Skellig will probably be forced to put on what we call a surcharge. And then you will really feel it in your pocket. So while I must say I'm a part of the government, I also want to congratulate the government and thank the government because I don't have to pay. The government is paying. Meanwhile, I want to encourage all of us who consume electricity to be conservative. Be conservative in your usage of electricity, in your homes, and in your businesses. That is one way of making sure that we at Skellig, I have to say we now, I'm the minister, are able to provide you with the services and that you don't feel it in your pockets. I turn to water. Everyone knows that I gave an undertaking since we were campaigning for the last election. An undertaking to my constituents to solve the water problem in my hometown of Keyon. Yes, since becoming minister, I've reviewed every bit of communication surrounding the production of water. Water is life. Without it, there's no you, no me. And so I regard the availability of water as mankind's number one priority other than your souls. Having read the reports made by the water engineer in 2021 and again in 2022, I felt duty-bound to apprise my cabinet of the very urgent need to address the looming adverse outcomes facing all of us. We invited on Monday, 2 days ago, the water engineer, Mr. Cromwell Williams, to the cabinet, and he explained to us the urgent need for turning to desalination. Desalination, he explained, is important because our underground water reserves is insufficient to supply the ever-growing needs of our island state, our islands of St. Kitts and even Nevis. And the reason he indicated that we should go to desalination is that we are at that point where in a few months, years, we will need $2 million gallons extra that we cannot obtain from our soil, from our groundwater systems. So, as a responsive cabinet, we decided to immediately effect the contract to commence drilling in Keon, something that had been before us for some time. And so, this week, I don't see the cabinet secretary, but I'm sure she is very efficient. She has already sent communication to the various ministries to take action to begin the contract for the drilling of water, drilling of wells in the Keon area. That, of course, will help not only Keon, but the people in Lodge, Otleys, who I think Keon is feeding from at the moment. Yes. And the Prime Minister always thinks that we are robbing him of his water. But certainly that will help us to relieve that strain from that system down in that part of the country. And the second thing that Cabinet has decided is that we'll immediately take up the offer that has been there for some time from the UAE to furnish a small plant, a plant to support the areas of Keys and its surrounds. And then, of course, thirdly, because we were able to get information on a proposal for desalination in the Basti area, which is under tremendous strain for water right now, rationing is taking place. At my home, we turn off at nights now. But in the Basti area, we saw a proposal, and Cabinet has decided that bids should be invited so that we can respond to the call of the engineer that we need another 2 million gallons of water. So very shortly, and again, I'm sure our efficient Cabinet Secretary has already sent out communication to start the process to invite bids to produce at least 2 million gallons of water for the Basti area. I should add that in the Newton Ground area, that is another challenging area. So we want to encourage persons and organizations getting involved in business and hotels and so on to at least consider, as part of their water resources, to use desalination as an option rather than rely on what government produces. And again, I appeal to consumers of water. Consumers of water, you are asked to be conservative in the use of your water. I don't have to spell out all of the ways. You know how you can save an extra gallon of water. It is important at this time that everyone considers how to reduce the amount of water you use. Even your utilities in your homes which are leaking every day, to which you're not paying any attention. It is time to call the experts who know how to identify why you are having leaks and remedy it to help us to save our water. I know I only have 5 or 7 minutes, but I can't help but speak to you about the St. Peter's Health Center and the Connery Football Stadium. These are 2 projects which we have been working on for some time. In fact, first, the St. Peter's Health Center. It began shortly after the elections of 2020, and it was supposed to be completed in September last year. I'm troubled by it because St. Peter's is the fastest growing population center in our country, and St. Peter's, as far as I recall, having been Minister of Health, finds themselves serving more persons at the health center, which is there now, which is inadequate, than any other part of the country. So the health center in St. Peter's is vitally important. But from about May or June last year, it has been stuck. Nothing has been happening. And without getting into the gory details, there has been something before my cabinet for a little while, which I have not been able to move. Now that I'm minister, we are moving that project along. And I've already informed my cabinet. I've already informed my cabinet of the approach that we're taking. We have had consultations. All of the stakeholders have come together. And where there are gaps, we're filling those gaps. And where swords have been drawn, we're making them put the swords back in the shield. And we will get that health center started and completed for the people of St. Peter's. I wouldn't want to venture to give you a date. But I am confident it's not going to be far ahead from now before we start and get it completed. And then we have the problem at Carnaby Football Facility. That is a project that has been around for some time. I want to thank the Prime Minister, because the last time we were at budget, and this is a press conference, so I have to be careful with my language. I was going to say his holy head. I can still say it. But of course, I decided, why would our facility at the football facility in Carnaby not be making progress? And it is only now that I've become minister I've learned that somewhere along the line, that's why I said I thank the Prime Minister, because of his intervention as we prepared for the budget last year. An additional sum went in the budget for this 2022, which has not yet been touched. But now our minister will be touched. Because work has been done. Bids have been presented. Steel have been fabricated and brought into the country and sitting somewhere. We are going to action it now and make sure that Carnaby gets its stadium. I don't want to be speaking for too long, because I know that the Attorney General is one who can take a few minutes. So I will save a few minutes for him. But those are the important musts in what may be a short time for me, but certainly the important musts as we work through the month of June, July, and beyond. Thank you.